What's happening, wrestling card collectors, memorabilia collectors, everything wrestling? How you doing, Paul?
I'm great, man. Nice to see you, Tony.
Good to see you as always. We got another month of the 3 Count Show here, which we're going to be covering all aspects of the hobby and a little bit outside the hobby, as we usually do here, because we got some cool stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
September
before we even
2023.
before we even get into anything at all. I mean, I know I'm going to jump the gun here a little bit, but when we get to it, we're going to talk about our top 10. And I happen to notice, looking over some of the top 10 notes from previous months, we keep a record of everything that we've ever done when it comes to the top 10 sales, the market index, where we kind of track everything. And I couldn't help but notice the past 6 months in the top 10 sales, 5 of the past 6 months contains a 5-figure sale of a wrestling card,
Man.
at least one. And that is really impressive.
Well, we won't be talking too much about this today because we're wrapping up September, but we're a couple of days into October, and last night or the night before on Golden, we had 3 massive sales. We had
I know.
Poppy going for, like, I got it here, the Poppy going for 31,720. We had Jamie's Randy Savage PSA 10 go for 7,015, and then the Poppy set, which were all high grades, like 8s, 9s, and 10s. That went for like 10 plus with the buyer's premium, I think 12,200. So that was just one night at the first day of the month. So we shouldn't be stunned so much about these 5-figure sales anymore. It used to be like, wow, stop the presses. But now it's like, yeah, this was, a Tuesday.
It still impresses me as a longtime wrestling card collector. It doesn't get old seeing 5-figure wrestling card sales.
No, I think our brain is still in sort of some of those early days, having sort of gone through the ride over the decades. We're still very much of the mentality, like when you sold that first Trish Divas card or Divas 2005 card for 16 or 1800. That was a big deal. That was the equivalent of like 10,000 today that someone would spend that kind of money. So yeah, numbers are up, People question where the market is at specifically, but we're here to tell you from looking at our pricing. Now, we'll get into the pricing in a bit, but we often talk about how we look at the top numbers, the sexy stuff. And people point out, well, you don't often go to the lower end and say, well, how come this was only this much? And how come, like highlighting some of the cheaper things. And I'm going to talk about the AEW metal set a little bit later, but we do look at that. We just find that we can judge sort of the appetites of people to spend big money when we see sales like we saw in Golden the other day. And I should say Golden is quickly becoming the place for the higher end stuff. Like their guys are up there hitting the pavement, and they might not have been as keen to get into wrestling 4 or 5 years ago, but they're actively looking for stuff now, and they're selling it, and they're getting big numbers.
And that's good. I mean, I told you my story anyways about me originally approaching Golden about selling my card, which funded my store here in Phoenix. And I wasn't impressed because I wasn't customer service wise. It just wasn't what I was looking for. And certain things that I wanted were not being offered to me.
And Heritage, so I ended up going happy with.
Yeah, Heritage. I was very happy with Heritage. They wanted to build a relationship with me, which that was important to me. So I mean, I'm happy to hear that Golden's like, yeah, wait a second, hey, wrestling is big. Let's get into that.
You know what? Their Netflix show shone a light on them. They're getting a lot of attention. So
good.
I think the last thing Ken wants is that now that he's getting this attention and he's a real shot at going after the top position, to fuck it up with poor customer service or by having fakes or anything else that could fear or cause any sort of controversy on one of his auctions. I think his reputation is the fact that when he makes a sale, that sale is good, and he's bringing in some big numbers in wrestling. So good for what they're doing, and good for the community. We always say that a 5-figure sale is just another it's an indication of what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this stuff is worth it. So
yeah, it's important. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be your traditional sports type of millions of dollars types of cards, kind of like that, and that's fine. But where were and where we come to now is very important to us, and it's just kind of shows that we have a very strong market. We've always talked about the ROI in this hobby, and it's as good, if not better, than any other sport. I feel. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it's fun to see that the reports go up like that. So
again, no one's putting the time and energy into looking at monthly sales and keeping a database like we are. And that doesn't make us the experts by any stretch, but it gives us a voice, one of the few, there's probably many voices on pricing in wrestling. And because we're close to it, I feel comfortable in saying that I don't think that our end of the hobby, our niche is suffering.
No,
You know, I can't give hard and fast numbers as to, hey, it's growing by 3x, 4x, or what it's doing specifically to the overall hobby. But it's just a sort of gut feel when you interpolate the numbers and you see these sales, and you see a night like we had on Golden the other night that, yeah, wrestling, you know what I mean? And this
yeah,
wasn't the case a couple of years ago, before COVID and before
yeah.
Panini, before videos, and before
And I'm sure
the
we could
growth
probably
of
go and cover some stuff like, why is this particular card or this superstar or this
not
line of
selling enough.
cards taking a dip, and getting hurt, and like, it was $500, now it's $100, now it's like, I mean, that's across the board anything. So, I mean, we could
Yeah.
probably talk about that someday, but we're kind of looking at the positive sides of and the higher numbers to just kind of show the validity of our hobby and the importance of our hobby and how it's just grown and
I've
where we're
always
kind of
felt the top numbers are more exciting to people, more sexy. It's like the Oscars, you
sure.
go to see the best picture, not
Yeah.
not the Razzies were the worst ones. So,
Yeah.
but
Although those are
anyways,
fun.
before we get into the numbers, let's just bang off our sort of
Let's
normal.
bang off it, man. So we're
Yeah,
good. Here we are. Thank you,
Yep.
everybody.
All right, so new releases. We're going to talk about the restraining order and how that didn't go down last week, and how Panini is
Yeah,
still
yeah.
in the business, at least temporarily. But before we get to Panini, nothing new from Upper Deck. Nothing was expected. We're still sort of trading on the Skybox of Metals. What we do have, though, is a couple of indie things. The major wrestling figure podcast guys put out another box set called Live 4.
Mhm.
I haven't seen them yet, but they look similar to the ones from last year, and I think those sold out or came close to selling out fairly quickly. So congratulations to those guys. Those guys do a really good job
Mhm.
with figures, but their cards are well sort of received amongst us and the hobby at large. And our dear friend Kevin Gust put out the second version of Rising Stars Part 2, which was a continuation to the set that he put out last year, and he just carried on with them. And these are all newer names in the hobby, guys that are
Yeah.
coming up. And I know you got a set because Chuck and I got our signals crossed and ended up with an extra one. So
Yeah, it was so nice of him.
yeah.
I was
Well,
not expecting that. I got a package in the mail, and my wife's like, "What'd you buy now?" I go, "I didn't buy anything. I swear to
well,
God."
because Chuck and I go back and forth sometimes, and there's immaculates happening here, an indie happening there, and sometimes, I should always know not to buy anything without checking with Chuck first. And Chuck will usually say, "Okay, I'm going to buy this," but this was one of those rare cases where he just went and bought, I just went and bought, then we decided to check with each other later, and you're the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, me. Happy to
Um,
have him.
So that's it. On the Panini front, we are going to see Elite now, and that's what I alluded to earlier. Last week, the restraining order that WWE was, they were looking for an injunction to have Panini stop dead in their tracks, not release anything, even stuff that was made, completely sever their relationship, and no longer be affiliated with the WWE trademark whatsoever.
Mhm.
A judge, in my mind, correctly said, no, we've got a contract here that hasn't been breached on the surface. We're going to carry on. There's a lot more legal to come on this, and it's like Dead Man Walking, like Panini's going. We know that they're going in
Yeah,
2 years,
yeah.
right? So it's just a matter of how fast vis-a-vis Fanatics the WWE can make that move. But my thing was very simple, and we talked about this at length on our Super Show, was that Panini was very clear on page 1 on the summary for judges and lawyers alike to see that, hey, we held up our end of the bargain. We exceeded by a good bit the minimum requirements of what our license required.
Mhm.
And we didn't hear about anything being wrong for 15 months, right? So now if all of a sudden a judge decides, you know what, WWE is a big company, even bigger now, because you got the lawyers, because you've got the stroke, yeah, we're just going to let you rescind this contract. That sets a real bad precedent in contract law. At the end of the day, you sign a deal for 2 years, unless one side is negligent, and vehemently negligent,
Mhm.
not, oh, they didn't post a digital picture online or some fucking thing like that. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not a lawyer by any stretch, but I'm smart enough to follow read the summations and
Mhm.
make my own decisions on what it is. And I kind of mentioned to you, and I think Adam as well, we were talking that I didn't expect WWE to get that injunction. Now, whilst Panini won the war, we know who's going to win the ultimate, or sorry, they won that first battle.
Battle.
We know that Fanatics is going to ultimately win the war. They've won it already. But it's just going to be a matter of time. But that said, Elite, we've seen pictures of it. We don't know if it's been shipped to the big box breakers yet, or if it's sitting on their pallets in their warehouses. But
Well, I mean, we don't even, not going to get into it, but we also have, a lot of these unsigned autograph cards floating out there that,
yeah, all of a sudden we've
yeah,
seen Yeah, and we don't know if that has anything to do with Panini. That could be, you know, a rogue
Yeah.
situation, right? So we don't know about that for sure. Excuse me. But the point is Elite is coming. And one guy mentioned to me October 26th, but I've never heard that from anybody else. So I don't know. I watch places like Steel City and Dave and Adams, and
Mhm.
their timetable is usually the most accurate for determining what's coming when. And stay tuned. There's nothing on the immediate release calendar that Panini's given us, but there might be more. Now, the question is that what kind of relationship are we going to see between Panini and WWE if they've just gone through a lawsuit where they're trying to terminate the relationship? Probably somewhat less than complimentary. So you got to wonder how far past Elite this thing is going. But at a minimum, we're going to get to Elite, and
Yeah.
then we'll let you know as we find out and as the courts decide.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting time right now. So there's so much more legal stuff to be played out here in courts. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, pretty much whatever's going to be in Panini's possessions, in their warehouse or whatever that may be, we're probably going to start seeing that getting pumped out here.
Yeah,
Just
they're
as,
not going to take a bath on anything that they
oh
can.
no, no, no. So, and then as we start seeing these unsigned autograph cards from Elite starting to hit the market, was there, then taken down, then back up again. It's going to be a lot of people jumping ship early, I think, because they know that, you know, I'm on this boat. I've heard of this name before. It was called Titanic.
Yeah,
I probably should get off this ship soon.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
we'll see it
I mean,
happen.
Panini is a huge international company. They're number one in the
Sure.
world for soccer and stickers. And you go to the Europe, it's Panini America we're talking about here. And yeah, the writing is potentially on the wall for them, but God knows in this day and age of mergers and acquisitions and guys like Michael Rubin that have a lot of money, anything can happen. But
Mm-hmm.
the big discussion was, will they or won't they? And at least for now, Panini is still in business with
Yep.
WWE. And we'll let you know. I mean, it'll be abundantly clear to everyone in our hobby because, we'll likely be getting together with Adam and Ryan and talking about it in detail when there's something to talk about. Right.
I've said before, man, it's like an ugly divorce. She wants you out of the house.
Yeah.
You're fighting to stay in the house. You win. You get to stay in the house, and I got to stay in that uncomfortable relationship in the
Yeah.
house.
Maybe in the basement, but
Maybe in
watch.
the basement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably where he was staying at anyways to begin with. So
So obviously, folks, stay tuned to us for all of that. That's going to unfold. So the question is that as we approach October 2025, how long does Panini get to play this game in our world, in the wrestling world?
in the meantime, we've got some things like in the market index that we've been keeping track of for
Yeah,
God
let's
knows
look at
how
that.
long, for a long, long time.
Mhm. Yeah, and we'll buzz through the index pretty quickly because there wasn't a ton of change. Like the 2021 hobby box, identical to last month, like
Yep.
within a buck. Similarly to the 22 AW hobby box, 52, 47 last month. Again, virtually the same,
Yep.
when they're within $5 of each other. The What I call the box, which is the 2022 first Panini Prism, the one that shot
Mm-hmm.
up to the moon and came back down, the root of all evil, if you will, you know, the start of tribalism, the
Yeah,
start
that's
of
right. Yeah, yeah.
the line in the sand, the what do you call that first shot across the bow that starts the war?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
That was the April, that was 2022 Panini Prism. Anyways, that box compared to last month, not a big change. 245 on average compared to 230 last month. So around the
A
same.
$15 wing. Not too much.
Yeah, yeah, but when you go down to the 2023, it's even closer to the other two. Well, 22, 240, 240.
Yep.
Again, nothing's, I guess the point of what I'm getting at is that nothing's taking a huge dip and nothing's taking a huge jump. We seem to be within the range, which is the point of doing this exercise every month to
Yeah.
see, is there something all of a sudden that's out of whack? And then watch it a little more closely the next month, and then maybe interpolate something to the grander hobby based on these smaller things. 1985 Talks Hulk Hogan card. It's normally a $30 card, and we had it slip a little bit, but I know why on this one. For whatever reason, and I've mentioned this before, as we keep doing these shows, more and more of these top Hulk Hogan cards get graded so that there's fewer and fewer raw ones. And there is a market difference between the blue one, which is 16 or 17 in the
Yep.
set,
Number
versus the
16.
number
Yep.
one yellow. The blue ones, for a while there, were keeping pace, but some of these lower ones I noted, like there was a sale for 11.50, there was two sales for 20. Those were both blues. So, if I took those out, we would have had very few yellow raws to begin with. So
Yeah.
look for that to bounce back. That's normally a $30 card, and it's not to suggest that that's taking a tumble. It just did this month.
Yep.
Uh, 1991 Impel base set, $20.60. Last month, 18.50. Month before, 20. More sales this month, so that seems to be where it's landed. But look here, Tony. One guy got the entire set for $5. Now, guys, 130 whatever cards worth more than $5 of anything in
Correct.
today's economy. So if you can ever buy a set of anything wrestling for $5, buy it.
Yeah.
And I guess I should say, because it's not on our index, but I noticed the new AEW metals, I alluded to this earlier, selling as low as $12 a set for 100.
Yeah.
That's
I
low.
I paid 20 delivered.
20
Just to
delivered.
just to have one in my in stock. And I'm always looking for
I
more.
paid 50 with the additional 50.
Yeah, I didn't get the official. I just got that 100 card
Right. I'm
set.
glad
So
I
I
did,
love to have.
because I would have grossly overpaid if I only got the base set, because one guy had it on sale for 15 and he accepted an offer of 13. And I'm like, wow, this thing is like hot off the presses. It's a metal set, even though the
Mhm.
cards aren't metal themselves, but
No.
it's, it's a what should be an AEW marquee set,
Mhm.
and $13 is cheap, for something
Yeah.
like that. When Panini stuff routinely are selling for $75 a set, $100 a set, 10,000 for an immaculate set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
um,
Anybody
and
out
that's
there's
one of the
got
things when we talk about stuff
metal
that's happening at
sets?
the low end. That's indicative. Sorry.
So anybody out there's got metal sets, and even the previous upper deck sets like that? I'm buying sets. I need base
Yeah,
sets.
send them to Vela down
Yeah.
for the store, because if you
Yeah.
look, when someone sells something for $5, they're looking to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, send them to Tony for $5,
Yeah.
because someone
I'll
might
take them all
actually want
day.
to buy that. Yeah, someone might want that set and buy it.
Yep. Take them all day. So
Panini
yeah.
2022 Immaculate Hobby Box. I like that set. The more sort of I get removed from it, and having tried to put the master set together, which I haven't done yet. And now I'm coming to terms that I might not, it might not happen, because I'm on there every day looking for these last 6 cards. And
It'll happen.
there's a couple out there for $100 plus. There's a couple out there that are graded. So my question to you, sir, should I just go out there and buy a graded card and cut it up?
No, I think you got to be patient. You're not used to
Right.
being patient with
No,
this
I'm not
hobby.
patient.
You
No,
are.
I'm
It's
not
out.
patient
I
in life.
want it. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not patient in
and
life. That's a new thing.
this is gonna is really trying your patience on this, and I think it's important that you just continue to keep doing your research and looking for it. I mean, you're going to get it eventually, but don't overpay. I mean, unless again, you can overpay if you want to, because if
I
it
have
means
never
something to you, it
seen
doesn't
it.
matter to
I
me.
have there's 2 of the rookie girls that I need, Roxanne Perez and Nikita Lyons. I have
Okay.
never seen the Nikita Lyons card
Hmm.
come up, but it's out there, obviously.
It's out there, of course it is.
Yeah,
So
so
I mean,
it's not
it's probably sitting in a box that I have back here that I haven't opened.
what. Yeah, well, if you find any Panini, let me know. They're
Yeah.
immaculate. Anyways, where were we? We were on talking about the immaculate box. Yeah, 475 this month, and we sort of assume it to be about a $500 box. Those are the green ones that just have the small group of cards in them, and they were considered like a transcendent level
Yeah.
product, without the fancy briefcase.
Sure.
2023 Panini Prism. We were talking about the big box from last year. That's
Yeah.
down to 228. Funny, the 2 previous months were 240, then 240, and it slipped a little bit, but that can be just 1 or 2 sales affecting that. So that's in the range. And it seems to me that 2022 and 2023 are getting close, that they're probably going to
Yeah.
be worth the same. Take your pick, depending on what release you're after.
I'm going to probably think that 2022 is going to hold slightly higher value just
Should do,
because
because it's the
it's
first
premiere.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was it for our index.
Now we move on to our top 10 sales for the month
You
of
want to do it like
September.
last time, from the bottom?
From the bottom up. From the bottom up.
Okay. So number 10, speaking of Panini Immaculate, was the 2022 Undertaker Immaculate Autograph 2 of 7. Those are the ones that we call them the numbered ones, because they represent how many times you did something, or
Sure.
like there's meaning associated to the numbers on them.
Yep.
And this was limited to 7, and it got $2,000. So that's the lowest sale that I captured of our top 10. That's the Undertaker. Number 9 was
always impressive when the lowest number, $2,000, is what it takes to get you in the top 10.
Yeah. And don't forget, when we have like 3 or 4 Hogan All-Stars in a month, all over $2,000, I just take one of them. So really, the number is higher than that, but I don't repeat cards in the top 10. If it appears once, I just take the highest sale of that, and that's
Yeah.
it. Number 9 is the 2023 Cora Jade. She'd be one of the rookie cards. Select ringside. We talked about that last month. That select is the last product that we got from Panini. So people are still probably collecting the ring size, probably still collecting the mezzanines.
Yep.
And the blacks are still holding value. Like the month previous, we saw a Rock and an Austin, I believe, in the ringside blacks that did well. And now here's Cora Jade at 2,200. So that gives you an idea that these blacks still hold value, you know, because it's just a base card, guys, but it's a $2,200 base card for Cora Jade.
So then that's a question here, then, not to open up a controversy or open up debate, is for, in your opinion, Paul, that's what these cards are going for now. 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, are we going to see these hold their value, or are they going to maintain? They're going to go higher. They're going to lower.
On a
That
Cora
seems to be,
Jade,
it seems to be the topic of, like, one, you guys don't talk about the stuff that's being it's now way cheaper than when it first came out, which is always the case anyways. People forget that
yeah.
people have to have things now. They pay high prices now. If you just wait for a few weeks, you'll get things cheaper. It's
So
always been the case.
There's your answer, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but you know, these ones right now, this is not brand new, so it's not.
No, but it's not old either. It's only a couple months old, and this is
couple
her
months is a
rookie
big
card,
difference from a couple
black.
days.
No, but to your question, will this thing get $2,200, say 2 years from now, even 6 months from now? I doubt it. You know, it'll still be worth something. It's not a $50 card. These black one-of-ones are always going to hold value because there's always going to be a PC guy out there that's going to want to snag. Like all of a sudden, if you could get a one-of-one black Loomis, you know, you're going to pay $200-300. You're going to pay the most you've ever paid for a Loomis card or Woodzan to get that card, because that's considered the grail in your PC.
Yeah.
You know, the bigger question is we're going to talk about the top sale of the month, which, no surprise, is a Hogan All-Star. And you know, that you know, we'll save that conversation for when we get to that, because I want to talk about the sustainability of some cards, and then maybe something like a Black Rock one-of-one Prism 2022, 156,000, maybe not, you know. But anyways, we'll get there in a moment. Let's go up the list. So there is an All-Star at number 8, the 1982 Double Wrestling All-Stars, Ric Flair, PSA 8 went for $2,280. We know that Uncle Danny bought one last month for $14,500. So that shows you the difference between an 8 and a 9, right?
Yep.
Big difference. And I don't know, because I don't follow the registry. Is there a 10 of a Flair out there? Has there been such a thing? I know there isn't a Hogan or Andre.
Good question. I don't follow registry either.
That's not our game. You know, those guys, Peck in England and Uncle Danny and Graben and those guys, they watch that stuff, and they know off the top of their head, oh, there's only so many this numbers of this PSA. And I'm like, you know, they're ready to go on this stuff.
Yep, they sure are.
Yeah. So number 7 is a 1998 Hulk Hogan WCW autograph PSA 8. You know, we just finished a show on the WCW autograph series with Jamie and Frankie. So
So check that out, guys. It's up.
Watch that. That just came out just recently, so give that a watch. That's a good number, you know, for a, you know, we often talk about them raw, but for an 8, 2,600 is pretty good, you know. 1998 Savage WCW autograph 2,660. The Hogan was 2,600. The Savage in a BGS 9.5. So that I can't say, is a PSA 8 the same as a BGS 9.5, or is a 9.5 a bit better?
I thought the comparison for a BGS 9.5 was equivalent to supposedly like a PSA 9 or even a 10 in some people's minds.
So the BGS holds more value, or is more stringent?
Well, again, I'm
talking on my answer because I don't know I don't know the answer. Again,
it'd be good for the guys who are really into the gradings like that, you know, how to compare grades across different companies and what they equal to.
I'm sure it's not consistent. I'm sure one day to the next, Monday it's something and then Friday it's something else. But in general, if I was to say to guys in the know, okay, I got a BGS 9.5 Savage, excuse me, and I got a PSA 8 Savage. Which one do you want? Right?
Yeah.
That you know, so anyway, so the BGS 9.5 got 2,660. And then number 5, this is a name we don't often get into the top 10, is the 2023 AEW MJF Metal Gems, the green one.
There you go. Having an AEW card in the top 10 period is an anomaly.
Yeah. Now, we don't often get MJF's name in our top 10, but we do often get the name Joey Graben.
You sure do.
Yeah, and he was the purchaser of the MJF card, and I think he's on a roll with them. I think he's going after a bunch more. So again, all of you Metal Gem MJF collectors, yeah, good luck to you. Number 4 was the 2023 Rock Revolution Kaboom PSA 10. Now, we talked about how these kabooms weren't all that, when they came
Yeah.
out. We were expecting them to be big, and they're like the color wheels and those color blasts. They were expensive cards, but they didn't go to
Well,
500.
especially kabooms. Kabooms seem to be way more common.
Yeah,
They
and
weren't,
they were being
they
talked
didn't seem as
about
rare.
because in football, I know that they're wanted. Anyways, a
Yeah.
Rock Kaboom PSA 10 went for 32.50, and that's probably the 10. That's probably the Rock. You take away the Rock, you take away the 10. The Kabooms themselves, we haven't seen a lot of them, so that's probably the pinnacle. Maybe the Hogan too, but certainly a PSA 10 Rock on a rare card is going to command a top buck. And then at number 3, we've been talking these last few weeks or last few months, Tony, about Rhea Ripley, how she's
Two
managed
months,
to get into the
2 months
list,
in a row.
right? And it's the third month in a row, and look at her all of a sudden kicking it all the way up to number 3 on the month for her immaculate logo autograph, 1 of 1, $3,500. Now, ask me if that's going to be worth $3,500 a couple of years from now. I'm going to say, yeah, it's going to be worth more. So it all depends. Like Ryan just bought a Vince autograph. That's going to be worth more than what he just paid for it
Oh,
now.
of course. Yeah,
There are
absolutely.
things that I can say pretty definitively that are going to hold their value and then some. Some things it's hard to say, and then there's a few others that you might say probably not. Like that Cora Jade, someone got that because it was a black. They might be the PC collector, and that's it. Now that's out of circulation. No one's going to get that card anyways. But interesting discussion. That's
Yep.
something we should maybe do at some point is talk to these guys about the sort of cross collateralization of grades and how from one to the next. Because I was talking to Big Pat Ryan on the Canadian show that we have coming up, and he was talking about how he uses a Canadian operation to grade because he doesn't care, about whether it's PSA or whether it's BGS. He just wants it in
Yeah.
his lab to protect it, and that's it. And that's good enough for a lot of people. So that's what it is. Number 2 on the month of September was the 2023 Undertaker Prism throwback auto. That went for $4,800. That's obviously a very big number. We've seen some big
Yeah.
numbers lately, and that's yet another one. And our number 1, which is a huge sale, and outside of the Black Rock, the biggest sale of the year was the 1982 Hulk Hogan Wrestling All Stars BGS 9.5, which I believe is as good a grade as can be given. Talk amongst us in the community was that it might have potentially been overgraded. People talked about the centering top to bottom. People talked about it not being as
Not only, yeah,
pristine.
but then not only the centering top to bottom, but also some blemishes on the lower right-hand side of that card, I
Correct.
believe. That's the same card we're talking about, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
And so the pictures itself look like there might be some discoloration on the card itself. But that could be either
Could be
the
the
lighting
photo.
from the picture.
Yeah.
Who knows like that. I
But
can't imagine that a grading company would put a 9.5 on a card with that kind of a blemish on the
well,
card
that's the
itself.
highest grade as we're going to see, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like
Yeah.
that's the card of cards. Now
Yep.
it didn't overtake the record of 53 or 54 that we saw
Mhm.
last September, but it got 49 too with buyer's premium, so just under 50 grand. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. This Hogan card in its top grade is always going to get 50 grand. Eventually it's going to beat 55. It's going to beat the record.
Yep.
That Black Rock 1 of 1, if it comes out again, if it comes out of the hands of the guy that paid the 125, I don't know that it gets 125 again. It might. It all
It
depends.
might, because it does have that. It
It does
has
have
that
that
story.
cachet.
It has that cachet, that story behind it. That
Correct.
wow, this is that card that sold for 125,000. I have a shot at it. So
But there's nothing like the point I'm making is that the Hogan Wrestling All Stars is made. We
yeah,
don't have to
of
have that
course.
discussion. We don't have to have that discussion because it's going to sell for that again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
Whereas there are other high end cards that maybe just caught a good month. Maybe just caught a buyer with a few bucks extra, whatever the case. To get the top number that it did. And you never know. We talk about this often about the problems with eBay is one day to the next, or shit, 1 hour to the next can make a
So
huge
and
difference.
who's looking? Oh, it's looking.
Who's
And not to
looking?
mention, there's more than one of these Hogans. Now at the grades, of course, the grades make the difference here. But there's more than one of these Hogans out there. There's only one of the black 1 of 1 rock. It's a unicorn.
Yeah.
So that itself does separate it from that. But I think you're right. Maybe this person just had extra money they wanted to spend. Maybe someone's willing to go ahead and set the market and set. I mean, egos get in the way when you start going and you're bidding back and forth. And how dare you outbid me? I'm going to bid you higher. Oh, how dare you? And so
Yeah, it just takes
that's what
two.
it just takes 2, and that's all it takes. So time's going to tell. Maybe this guy's like never going to sell. Maybe it's just this corner piece that he wants to have. It sits there. It's a number that's going to sit forever, and it's never going to be available again. Who knows?
Let's just say that it did. for whatever reason, let me put you on the spot.
Hmm.
Do you think it gets the $1.25 again?
Tough call. My gut tells me no. My
I don't
gut
think
tells
so
me
either.
no.
I don't think
My
so
gut
either.
tells me he takes a hit on it, but depends on how much of a hit it's going to be.
Yeah, and that's not for all the anti Panini people to say. You see, it was the guy paid too much for it. He paid
No,
exactly what
well,
it was
he
worth to
paid
him
exactly
and someone else.
yeah.
But we actually spoke to the guy that came in second, so then none of that was untoward at all, and that was
Nope.
all correct the way it went down. But these Hogans, you're going to see them again and again, and they're going to go and one's going to crack that 55 mark and probably 60 before you know it. But it just shows you, and that's why on Zan's list, it's the #1 iconic card. That's what the
Yeah.
community all agrees that that's the card. So congratulations to it doing what it often does is it
Yeah.
blows my mind. But 50 grand, like
This card itself, like you said, a year down, 2 years down, 5 years down the road, this is a six-figure card down the road. It really is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's it for sales. Now I want to get into what we talked about last month, the collectibles corner, talking outside of wrestling, wrestling trading cards, a few other things. Man, it's incredible how much stuff is out there. Like just this morning, for example, I posted an arcade game that I found at a bar, and it's lighting up now. And it's like people, oh wow, how cool is that? And it's true, like you put WWE on anything, on a thermos, on a lunchbox, on underwear, pajamas, you name it.
Yeah.
But there was some interesting stuff that sold this month, and I want to speak specifically to circumstances because that alludes to what we were just talking about. Sometimes there's a reason for things, and not often do I know the reason. Like for example, the other day I posted, "How come Demolition isn't in the Hall of Fame?" Because it just occurred to me they're not in the Hall of Fame, and then
There's
I got
legalities, of course,
right. I got told
lawsuits.
real fast by about 10 people, oh, because there was a concussion lawsuit. Now, we're not all seeing and all knowing. We don't know everything. I
Yeah.
didn't know about that. I was just wondering why. So sometimes we'll put something and then the community will chime in and
Yeah.
straighten us out. For example, I posted some Bailey stuff that sold earlier this month because it struck me as being like really fucking expensive for
Yeah.
some Bailey ring worn gear. And I posted, there was 3 different sales and they were all like 20 grand, 25 grand, 28 grand, something like that. So I posted the top lot and I said, wow, congratulations to her. Some people are willing to pay big money for this stuff. It's kind of crazy. Then
Yeah.
I found out, and I was rather embarrassed, that it actually was a charity auction for the victims of the Maui fires,
That
right?
explains it. I didn't know
Now,
that.
no, nor I at the time, but that's a perfect example where those things wouldn't get that the next day anywhere else. But someone very charitable with deep pockets looking to help out, paid a premium and then some on all the Bailey stuff, just to help out the cause. And sometimes artificial things like that are the reason why these things go for a big sale. I can't justify them. I can't explain them. I can just report them. I start my
Yeah.
morning, grab a coffee. Oh, did anything big sell last night on 130.2 or, following that stuff because pricing's always been my thing. I like to see it. It's
Yeah.
exciting for me to see when something gets 50 grand for a wrestling card. But yeah, so, I didn't mean to imply that that guy overpaid when he was giving money to charity, but I just didn't know he
Yeah.
was giving money to charity.
No, that's the case I got back here. We just recently had a Sabu in-store signing, and I've been sitting on these pair of pants and the turban that he gave me over 10 years ago. It was right behind me in a bag over here, as a matter of fact. That I never had him sign. So now he signed him for me this last time. And he knew exactly like what I've been telling people for a long time. So it was nice for him to validate that right there in front of everybody. And he's like, "Oh, I got these pants." I go, "You want them back? Can I have them back?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, I'm kidding." He's like, I gave them to you. You can keep them." So he goes, and he held them up and he showed them to everybody in the store and said, "These are the green pants that I wore from the very first ECW pay-per-view." And the tournaments like that. And then he finally signed them. Like, I mean, what would something like that kind of go for? I mean, who knows? But
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
just
the
probably,
show that WWE did on the A&E network, a couple seasons now, running the
mhm,
most treasured collectibles is all that stuff. You
yeah,
know, robes and gloves and knee pads and whatever that
yeah,
guys wore, but they like to tie it to specific events. Like, is this the actual crown that Brett wore at the King of the Ring, or is this a knockoff he wore a week later?
yeah,
And there's big value adjustments if you have the thing
well, sure,
from the moment. Like the Flair robe. the big one that everyone wants is the Starcast robe, the blue, white, like we all know the definitive,
Yeah.
iconic flare robe. Um, but that doesn't mean his other ones are worthless. They're just not worth as much.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky thing with collectibles, is that it's all over the place. Like you can see a ring boot of Hogan going for 55,000, and then something that was Bray Wyatt's going for like 1,600. You're wondering why
Yeah.
the difference. So that's and those are different industries. The clothing industry is different than the collectibles industry, but it's interesting how when you start branding merchandise, so you're a big company like Endeavor and you have the UFC trademark, you have the WWE trademark, how valuable that is to put on anything.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much product that has been released over the years. And I love finding this stuff, especially these old arcade games that are like,
Thousands and thousands of different trademarks out there. I remember
yeah.
years ago when I was working for a certain individual, and I was in San Diego to go meet up with uh, some of the then executives for TNA, and to find out that at the time, TNA only had, I believe, 7 licensing agreements. That was it, 7.
That's
That's
it.
it. And it might even been less than that, actually, to be honest with you. This was the night that they were unveiling a new set of action figures. This was a night that they had the exclusive Wounded Warriors camouflage edition of Kurt Angle's action figure that never got released because WWE said, you can't do that, TNA. We have a contract with Wounded Warriors. You can't do that. So it never got released to the public that I'm aware of. But anyhow, it was mind-boggling to me that a company like that had only had such a limited number of licensing agreements for merchandise, where obviously a long-standing company like WWE, has thousands of them out there. Everything from like, you name it. And I was joking back then. I was joking whoever I was talking to at the time from Impact Wrestling, like, dude, you guys are Impact Wrestling. I mean, it's like a built-in name. I mean, like I can think of one thing, condoms, Impact condoms. Come on. I mean,
That would be good.
it sells itself.
Yeah.
But it's just mind-boggling that there was nobody with the company that was actively going out trying to get licensing deals
Well,
with
do you
anything,
remember
everything.
back, do you remember back in the classic era, the Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, Iron Sheik days? They used to have something called the merch catalog that they
Oh
used
yeah,
to
yeah.
advertise.
Of
And
course.
that was something they sent out old school via mail to fans
Yep.
that had towels and lunchboxes and wearables and et cetera, et cetera. So
Mhm.
even back then, Vince was tied into, he was smart about the marketing of the brand. And that's why you see these wrestlers going back to the classic cards the first time you see the trademark beside wrestlers' names. And you
That's
realize
right.
each one of these is a unique trademark that's dollars,
That's right. Thank you,
That's
George
why
Lucas.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That's why Edge turns up the other night on AEW. He ain't Edge anymore. You know what
Yep.
I mean? These are valuable trademarks that have been exploited over the years, and it's
Yep.
fun to see the different kinds of items that you come across. But you tell me, anything exciting in the store out of the ordinary?
Well, we just had
Fun?
Sabu for in-store signing. It was a really good turnout. Thank you everybody who came out to that. If you're in the Phoenix area, it was really nice to reconnect with him. I hadn't really seen him in over 10 years. So, and he just started talking to me like, you know, we just saw each other last week, and it was just nice to have good conversation with him and reconnect. And he was super appreciative, super kind. The fans loved him. And then we might be having him come back again sooner rather than later. So back by popular demand type of thing. But then we just announced we have Kurt Angle coming in the store November 11th, and that's
Big,
already
big,
gotten a
big
massive,
news.
massive pop for that
Oh
already.
yeah, that's going to be Arizona wide news by the time you're done.
Well, speaking of news, that's something that we're looking into. Local news stations might be coming to pick this up. We got just got approved for Toys for Tots, so we're going to have that available for people coming in as well. So
Explain to people
do
what
some
that is.
donations. Toys for Tots here. So we're going to have a donation box that's provided to us. It's an official box that's from the organization Toys for Tots, which is basically a customer will come in, they'll buy a toy and then just throw it in the box and donate it, and those all go to the organization to give out to kids who in
Nice.
need that need toys, for maybe the holidays and stuff like that. So
Like
we
a
want to
canned food
be
drive kind of thing.
kind of exactly. So we want to be a place where people can come in here and help out kids in need, and we're just trying our best to be more connected with the community here. And I feel it's going to be probably the best way to go to one, obviously as a business owner, for exposure for the store. Hopefully that equates to sales, but also because I also wanted to think that as wrestling fans, people are like, oh, you're a wrestling fan? I mean, come on, that's fake, right? And it's like, but I want to show something that's real. And that's that,
Yeah.
we're also good, caring people that want to help others out and
Well,
provide a
I
community.
think it's important that you get out there because it's called Wrestling Guy Store and you're the
Yeah.
wrestling guy. So
Yeah,
you
of
know, if you're
course.
going to be the wrestling guy, get out there and be the
Yeah.
wrestling guy.
So, it's just, things are starting to, kick into the next level, which I'm
Right.
really happy about. I mean, whatever money's made from the store, we put back 120% back into the store. So the store is not really making any money for me in the pocket. Thank God my wife has a great paying job to help pay for the bills. But some things come out of the store, gas, this, that, the other, son needs clothes. We're able to kind of take a little bit from that. But for the most part, all the money goes right back in the store because we know we're still within year one of opening the store. And it's a struggle. But the customers and the fans that come out for these signings really make it worth it because it's just, they're so appreciative. Like, holy crap, we have a whole wrestling theme store in Arizona. This is amazing. So it's fun. And there's a lot more stuff coming out. So a
If
lot
we
more
had
stuff.
something like that here in Toronto, it would go through the roof.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Okay.
Other news, Wrestling Collectors Card Series. We've finished the fronts. They're all done. I'm working now on the backs. I'm about 60% of the way there. So we're hoping in the next 2, 3 weeks that we have finished artwork. And then we can get into production. So definitely before Christmas, maybe even, before the end of November, but they're coming. And let me just say, this is going to be another great set. I think everyone's going to really dig it.
I think not only that, it's going to have some surprises that I think
It
that
is.
people probably weren't expecting or not expecting. And this is going to be another one of those things where I think you better jump on it quick because the last one was pretty much sold out in 48 hours.
Yeah.
More or less. But this is going to be another one. And I think there's going to
Well,
be
remember,
people are going to,
everyone in the set buys a set,
yep.
but now we've got everybody in set one that probably wants to get set two just so that you have the whole thing, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm excited about it. I really am. So can't wait to start sharing that information. Probably check out us on social media here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely by this time next month on this show, if we
Yep.
haven't blown our wad on social media, then we'll be able to show you a few things.
Yeah. We'll tease some things. We'll tease
Yeah.
a couple of things. So
Yeah.
it'll be fun. So, but really appreciate everybody who spends some time at least checking us out every month and covering the monthly recaps and top sales and it's just fun. So I mean, we keep doing it. Paul and I have been doing this for a long time, long before there was YouTube. We were always communicating, trying to get pricing information, trying to archiving stuff. I mean, if we're not doing it, who's going to do it, right? I made a post the other day. I think it was yesterday. I made a post talking about really excited and pleased to see that grading companies are now like finally checking out independent card sets. And I really think it has a lot to do with us, archiving that stuff when we were updating things and getting things updated. That people are like, okay, this is legit, this is real, and getting that information. That's what's so important about our hobby is getting the information. I'm a big believer. There's never too much information about wrestling cards because long after we're gone,
Not to pat ourselves on the
yeah,
back, but I think we've
yeah,
done a bang up job on the indie stuff.
we
Obviously,
have absolutely.
we obviously have the Brotherhood and all those
Oh,
guys
without
we're a
them,
part of
without the
to
guys in the
keep
Brotherhood,
to
I
keep
mean,
us on the cutting edge of that,
we'd
But
be
then we've got
behind.
specific guys like Armand and Nick that are really into it. And of course, Chuck is always keeping an eye on that stuff. And we've made sure that we hear about it, we get it up on both sites, on Price Guide and WTC, so that it's there.
All those guys. I mean, they're everything. Mike and Pete and Tony O and Delacus. All these guys, man. They're all
Well, speaking
on
of
top
which,
of this stuff.
there's going to be, a little secret. There's going to be, for those that have been following along with our collector series, there's going to be one on the Brotherhood. And we're
Yep.
going to try and get as many of us on at once as we can manage. And that's actually coming up next weekend. So, we're a little concerned how's that going to play with so many of us on at once. But, it's going to be the first time that some of these guys are actually had the ability or the facility to talk to each other directly. So I'm just happy to, even if it's just us
Yeah.
talking about nothing for an hour, it's just nice to see everybody all in one place in one go.
Yeah, it's just the community as a whole, generally speaking, is a good bunch of collectors out there that are
Sure.
willing to help each other to better their collections, better the information for people who are coming into the hobby for the first time or returning. So it's all good when we have the price guide, we have WTC working together to help better the hobby. That's the ultimate goal, no matter what, no matter the anger, no matter the disagreements. The ultimate goal is always to better educate people and provide a resource that people can use to help them in their collecting habits.
Well said.
It's,
And
yeah.
we decided a long time ago that we were gonna make we're gonna be a tag team, and we're
Oh
gonna work
yeah.
on this together, and we're gonna be respectful of what we do and what we know. And it's worked out well.
Yep.
When all of a sudden you start breaking these things, that's when the tribalism begins. When all of a sudden one guy thinks he's more important than another, or one guy thinks he
Yeah.
knows more than another, or for whatever reason,
Yeah.
whatever the divides are. And it would be a shame if you and I ever had that, because a lot of all this goodwill and work that we've done, is a testament not only to the fact that we care about this, but the fact that we've chosen to work together in this
Yeah.
fashion,
Yeah.
on the
And,
cards, on the national, on these shows, but
we've
most
made it we
importantly,
made
day
it
to day on the checklists. Like every day, if not every day, every second day, you and I are having a conversation about a wrestling card somewhere, and that's
yeah.
with mind to making sure that we've got it right on the sites.
Yeah, and it's it's important that we've made it a point, you and I, that there are often times when we want to chime in on something, and I think people they want us to engage in that disagreement sometimes, and we're like, you know what? I have so many tweets that are still in draft format that I go, I'm going to give
No,
myself some
no
time to
point
think
for us.
about it. Yeah, no
No,
point in it. So
no point for us to ever
if
lose
you're
our shit. I
trying,
mean, if
if
something
you're
is
trying to
factually
draw it out
wrong,
of me,
we'll
you're
point
not
it
going to
out.
get it out of me.
But we can't argue opinions is the thing,
Yeah,
which what a fact is a fact. This sold for this much. We know it for a fact. You can't argue it. If you
yeah,
want to argue with me, go away. But for example, ice cream cards, we had them listed with 1 year omitted 2007 and the last set
yeah,
being 2008. And we had a conversation with Michael Ford, who is an expert in these things. And we went
yeah,
back and forth, me and him, me and you, looked at the cards, and we decided to make that change on both sites at the same
yeah,
time for consistency, so that and that's the kind of thing that goes on behind the scenes that when you're not watching us here, we're doing. Because for
yeah,
us, it's a labor of love. Me, it's a collector, but having the price guide has been an extension of my collecting, just sort of being an archivist and trying to find stuff that's rare. Like those hockey cards I found a
yeah.
few weeks ago that I let you guys know about. Who knew that there was an Upper Deck hockey set with CM Punk and Bret Hart in it? But it's out there, and there's so much
Yeah.
stuff, the old Leaf stuff, Indian stuff. That's a whole mountain
It's a
of
whole,
that
yeah,
we don't know about, so. And the Japanese, you and Chuck and Rich Veligan have done a masterful job putting all that stuff together as best you can, but we all readily admit there's a lot of holes there still that
Oh,
that
there is. Yeah, yeah.
no
So
is
it's
not
fun.
right.
And what's fun about it too is that Chuck gets to go and relive some of his stuff that he has
Correct.
in his collection, which is great. So he's having fun with that, which is always supposed to be about having fun. I'm learning new things as well. Actually, I'm actually getting pretty good at my Japanese now too. So but it's just it's fun going through the stuff and then working with Rich, who is provides such amazing information on this stuff in the book sitting right over here. It's and then finding like, hey, we had this on the checklist site already from years before. He's like, you know what? I forgot to add that to the checklist book. So I'll be in. And so we're helping each other by having extra sets of eyes looking over things and seeing stuff. And sometimes like, hey, I have this and it's actually kind of wrong. And here it is. I got a picture like, oh my God, you're right. I'll get that updated in the next version. So it's fun to get that up there because we want to be as accurate as possible
Yeah, it's
because
good
people
stuff.
really need it. Yeah.
You just hit the
So
nail on the head. It's fun for us. We
yeah.
enjoy doing this kind of thing. So it's the phrase labor of love. You do
Yeah.
something like I play music, play my bass guitar with my bands, and I hang out with wrestling cards because I enjoy it. I don't
Yeah.
know if it makes any sense,
On
but
the collector series, I love the new all the different original compositions you're putting together for
oh
our
yeah. You didn't give me those are original snippets of my music that you're going to get
yeah,
ever since I got away with the Black Rose, and you told me no, you can't use that stuff.
yeah.
I said, oh yeah,
Even though it got approved, it
even
still
though I
got
got approved.
flagged.
No,
It got flagged.
yeah, that's something else that you mentioned. That yeah, all the collective series going forward, the original music is my own. That you're
Yep.
hearing at the top.
So got to
Yeah,
make sure we put that tag in there. I'm going to update those things that original score provided by.
there you go.
Yeah.
So that's
So
it, my brother. That's all I
that's it.
got.
That's all I got, man. So again, I appreciate everybody checking us out. It's like that for me. You can find us on WrestlingTradingCards.com. All of our social media handles are on the bottom of every single page. And for Paul, they can find you where?
TheWrestlingCardPriceGuide.com or WrestlingCards.ca. CA is the Canadian extension. Card_guide on Twitter. I am on Instagram and Threads and Facebook, but not so much. Twitter is where I do my daily sort of pricing updates. So look to those, and thanks for everyone for interacting with Tony and I both on social media. It really helps us get it right when people chime in and let us know. So thanks on that. And I guess we'll see everybody next month for October.
Until then, man, guys, stay safe out there. Have fun collecting. We're out.